relax, and enjoy as Don Tony gives you news and reviews from AEW, NXT, and indie wrestling too.
Know what's happening in the world of wrestling without the hate and clickbait.
It's Wednesday night, Don-O-Mite.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
All right, if you've ever played a video game, a pro wrestling video game, maybe one of the Japanese import wrestling video games, and you ever wanted to see that come to life, that's what we got tonight in your AEW Dynamite main event, Kenny Omega versus El Hijo del Vikingo. Did exactly what we expected it to do. Tremendous match. Will we see Vikingo back in the AEW ring? Who knows? But I will tell you, the 7 days leading up to it really left a sour taste in my mouth. We got to address, I got some venting to do tonight about what has transpired online. I mean, if it couldn't get worse, it did. And you know what? I could even let go, the stone cold millennial or the stone cold snowflake Hangman Page stealing an ambulance to basically hit the ring and do nothing. We could get past that, but I tell you, the way people reacted about this match, let me tell you something. If those people gave a flying fuck about El Hijo del Vikingo before the announcement 6 days ago, he would not have had 7,114 followers a week ago. Is he a household name? No. Shades of Rey Mysterio? Absolutely. This isn't the first time we've talked about him on these shows. We talked about him in the past. It's just he is an international star. He is not someone that has been showcased in the United States. And for people to talk down on fans, and I hope you take part in the poll that I have live right now, and there is no right or wrong answer there. I'm just curious to see how you felt about, if you had any issues with this match going on tonight. Was it either, one, it's not a dream match, it might be for Kenny Omega, it might be a bucket list, it might be, for some pro wrestlers, was it wrestling fans a dream match? Or was your complaint that there was no build to the match? And I will tell you this. Kenny Omega made some comments about the fan criticism, and this might surprise a lot of you out there. I actually agree with just about everything that he said. The problem is that his answer was very incomplete, and we're going to talk about that. And because this match did not give that tingling sensation to a lot of people online, that triggered Tony Khan to bring back the annual tradition, the springtime tradition of accusing people of being bots, haters, never were fans of AEW. We'll get into that in a little bit, because we have some wrestling news to get into. We got some discussion. If you want a full-blown recap of Dynamite, there are thousands of shows online that are doing that right now, complete with the capitalization of certain words. The match is, I'm not crapping on the match at all. It was fucking awesome. I think I would have enjoyed it that much more if I didn't pay attention to social media the last 7 days. You must like it, damn it! If you didn't know, now you know. And here, you don't know. Three-quarters of those motherfuckers online did not know either. But because, they're part of the cake and ice cream crew, they have to educate themselves. Go check their Twitter history and see if they ever tweeted once about this guy. If they ever tweeted once in 2021, Kenny Omega, Vikingo, oh, fuck, it's not happening. Tell me, what's the next one the dream match, Adam Cole versus Daniel Garcia next week. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great match. No complaints with it. But stop fucking talking down to people that because, well, you know what? I've watched wrestling since 1979. I grew up on Rey Mysterio and a lot of high flyers. I remember all the showcase matches from AAA to California, watching those wrestling on Saturday nights on Channel 47 and Telemundo, and hearing nothing but air horns and seeing a big Corona fucking logo in the middle of the ring. I've seen everything, and it doesn't get old, but please don't fucking act like this was something on your bucket list that you have been craving for a couple of years. You make me want to fucking vomit. Seriously, you make it so unfun sometimes to be wrestling fans. And the sad part about it is, you know, as I go through time, I see people who I'm friends with and people who I truly support. And I see, you know, like that in order to fit in order to be part of the cake and ice cream crew, in order to be part of the clique online, that not only do they have to do the same thing and adapt, but they have to put it on steroids, you know, and to me, it gets me nauseated. It really does. But I think the biggest news coming out of today is FTR. And I'm going to point out something that was not mentioned tonight on Dynamite about FTR. Something that I think is absolutely necessary in order for you to try to figure out if FTR is staying in AEW. Are they going to sign for another year? Or are they done? Something that was left out tonight. I'm sure some of you're very smart. You know, our audience is a lot different than a lot of shows out there, and that's not to disrespect other people, you know, but the fact is you probably picked up on it as well. For those that don't know what I'm talking about, the Guns successfully defended their AEW Tag Team Championships tonight, beating Top Flight. And here, I will complain about something right now. The Kingdom got involved. Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, Maria Kanellis is with them. They attacked Top Flight. That led to the Guns getting the victory. I don't have any issue with the Kingdom. The Kingdom are fucking great. But the Kingdom and Top Flight is part of the Ring of Honor thing going on right now. And they even mentioned it towards the end. It was Excalibur. Breaking news, everyone. About 14,000 people bought Honor Club. All right. Now, everyday pro wrestling fans, casual fans, Dynamite fans are supposed to know that there's a little bit of a history with Top Flight in the Kingdom because it happens on Honor Club. This is fucking exactly what people get pissed off about. And it's not a major thing. I mean, I'm not going to lose sleep because I didn't know that the Kingdom and Top Flight have history. But this is one of the things that we talk about. You know, just assuming that 935,000 fans tonight all, you know, pretty much knew that, you know, they got a little thing going on over there. That's going to carry back over to Honor Club. Please, you know, this is something that they do and do often. But, you know, that tonight, that's not even the issue. It's after the match was over. FTR hits the ring. FTR wants another title shot versus the Guns. Now, the interesting thing about it is there's a lot of people online that do not like Dax Harwood. All right. They just tread the water very, very carefully because there's a lot of people in the cake and ice cream crew that still like FTR. My God, you hear the crowd pop. FTR is probably the most over wrestlers in AEW. And I don't even think that's an exaggeration. But if you look closer on social media, you will see some people that will on occasion reveal and, you know, show their ugly head about how they truly feel about Dax Harwood. They're not happy because of his podcast. They are not happy because of his alliance with CM Punk. They are not happy because of him being brutally honest about a lot of things. They are not happy about him acknowledging that the Usos are the most over tag team in the world, and even saying, that, the way they were used creatively in AEW is probably that a reason attributing to that. And I agree. There's a lot of reasons. That's why we put Dax as one of the Public Enemy. Remember my Public Enemy photoshops? He was what? Public Enemy number 3? I think he was Public Enemy number 3. I think number 1 was CM Punk. Number 2 was Andrade. Number 3 was Dax. And number 4 was Ariel Helwani. But still, everyday AEW fans, social media does not represent. I want to make that clear. I want everybody to understand this, because a lot of you do not use social media. All right. When you hear that audience and the way they react, especially towards FTR, that is not a clear reflection of what you see on social media. But, the thing is, a lot of people are also angry with Dax Harwood for mentioning several times in the last month that nothing has changed with their contract situation with AEW. Now, he said that 2 weeks ago. Anything could have happened in the last 2 weeks. Dax Harwood is not one to lie on his podcast, believe me. And that is why his podcast is one of the top podcasts out there. But he has gone out of his way to basically tell everyone, listen, Tony asked us to come back, to help the Guns a little bit. He said that on his podcast. A lot of people are angry with him for being that revealing. So now they hit the ring tonight. They see the Guns. They want another title shot. They want a title shot. They faced the Guns before, but it wasn't for titles. And the Guns, as much as you may not like them, as much as you may think they're not ready for prime time, I thought the Guns were tremendous in this segment. When they were yelling and screaming, we don't want nothing from you. There's nothing you can give us that would make us want to fight. We don't get out of our ring. Everything, the Guns played it perfectly. So Cash is saying, look, if we lose, we'll never face you for the championships again. And the Guns are like, no. So then Dax gets on the mic, and I will show it to you in two parts. Dax gets on the mic, and Dax says this.
If we can't beat you,
listen close,
and win the AEW Tag Team Titles.
If we can't beat you and win those AEW Tag Team Titles, okay? Think about that closely, because I'm going to have a chicken shit bullshit, probably 10-word answer afterwards that pretty much ruins the whole storyline. So what's going to happen if they don't win the AEW Tag Team Titles off of the Guns?
We'll quit AEW.
Oof. Crowd didn't like it. They will leave AEW. So now you have people online. Oh, they must have signed. They're playing into what people already know about their contract situation. Then you got the people out there. Oh, they're Triple H bound. They worked out a deal. Yeah. Now, two things I have to say to it. If I want to be a dickhead and Iman is thinking what I'm thinking, all the Guns have to do is just get their asses disqualified. Play the fucking promo back. You didn't win the AEW tag titles. That's it. Bye-bye. You're out of here. I would get if that was me, I'd get disqualified in 5 seconds. As soon as the bell rings, I kick the referee in the balls. Even if it's Aubrey Edwards, I kick her in the crown jewel, if you could call it that. I'd fucking get disqualified in 2 seconds. No, I don't want Tony Khan to come out. No, that's not how we're going to do that. But that's what I would do. But that's not going to happen because we're wrestling fans. We don't want that. Can you imagine they throw so much garbage in the ring if that happened? Here's the little tidbit that was not mentioned tonight that you have to think about. And I think this will give you a good idea if FTR resigned or not, even if it's for a short-term deal. Double or Nothing is the end of May. It might be May 28th. I don't have a date in front of me. It's the end of May. Their contracts are up with AEW in April. Yes, before anyone says anything, yes, they could have signed a 2-month extension. Absolutely. I'm not saying that's out of the question. But the way these professionals work and the way you work deals, especially when WWE is involved, if Triple H or Vince or WWE, a combination thereof, want FTR in WWE and they want them to have a program with the Usos, have a program with something like that, I'm pretty certain, based on the petulant child's behavior in the past, that I don't think Triple H or Vince or anybody in WWE would say, oh, we can wait 3 months. Go stay there till June. We'll bring you in July. The Great American Bash. No. They're going to offer big bucks to FTR. And they're going to offer it in April. If I'm WWE, no, you signed a 2-month extension. Too late. Sorry, can't do nothing for you. So I think, again, it's not out of the question that FTR didn't sign a short-term deal. It could happen, absolutely. But just like I've always said about the Kenny Omega situation, everybody reported the news, Kenny Omega's contract is extended till November. What about his office, his executive role? Just because you're injured doesn't mean that you can't work. You think about that. You're an executive, and I had surgery. Well, why can't he do his executive? How did they extend his executive? Did they work out an extension? I don't know. Did anybody ever bother to look into it? No, and I'm not. Pay me to do it, and I'll do it. But the thing is, with FTR, pay attention. Pay attention, because Double or Nothing was never mentioned tonight. Personally, I think it should happen at Double or Nothing, which is the end of May. But if this happens on a Dynamite, my gut feeling tells me they're gone from AEW. I think that's where it goes. If they announce it for Double or Nothing, at minimum, they signed an extension. 2 months, 6 months, a year, whatever it is. But I will say this, if WWE really wanted them, especially what their value is, understand something, and I've brought this up many times before, and it's not a shot on other shows, but I know they haven't brought it up. You look at the stock market in 2017, 2018, I think that was the period in question. If you remember when the WWE stock hit $100 a share, the Saudi deal, TV, everything else, they hit $100 a share. What a lot of people didn't take note of is WWE went on a insane signing spree during that time. You go back and you look at all the names that they signed during the time the stock hit that high and around it. It's insane. FTR was one of those tag teams where they got like what was it, a 3-year deal, or remember all the reports that they got like a lot more money than anybody ever expected them to get. When COVID hit and the stock market started to tremendously decline, and WWE, they had to really condense revenue. Now remember, when they did all these mass releases during the COVID era, everybody's like, oh, they're fucked up. How could you do that? How could you fire people during COVID? Now you look at everything as a whole. And Vince just didn't wake up one day and say, let's sell. This is something that's been talked about and thought about for years. And what they had to do was they had to make their books look as good as possible. And when COVID hit and the stock went down, it's in the 60s and the 50s, 150 wrestlers released in less than 2 years. And the funny thing about it is a lot of those wrestlers were signed when the stock hit $100 a share. So If WWE is looking to bring in FTR, there is nothing stopping WWE from giving him $1 million, $600,000, $300,000, whatever they want. I am not putting a dollar figure. I don't know what their worth is. So they can afford it and they can pay the money. And I pretty much could guarantee you that WWE's offer would not be for a year, would not be for 6 months. And FTR, and listen, look at their use in 2022 when they had 3 sets of belts. Look at the way they were used. Even if they signed a 6-month extension, what do you think they're going to do on TV? You're going to have Forbidden Door coming up. This Kenny Omega, Hangman Page thing. No, they're not trying to be Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. I'm sure some people, I had that thought also, like, we're going to get the hick hug. We're going to get the hick hug. That's coming. But no, this is going to reform them, and they're going to fight Bullet Club at Forbidden Door. This is where this is all leading to. It's leading to Forbidden Door. Forbidden Door is in June. We're in March. That's half of the 6 months. What do people think FTR is going to do? You think suddenly every week they're going to have dream matches? Everybody is spread very, very thin. So even if they did sign an extension, how would they really be used? What are they going to take on? The Kingdom? Top Flight? I don't know about the Young Bucks. A lot of people think so. So pay attention. Pay attention as to when this match goes down. In my opinion, if it goes down on a Dynamite and not all the way to Double or Nothing, I start to get the feeling that they might be on their way out from AEW. Not going to clickbait. Not going to even put it on a thumbnail. I'm not going to tease it one way or the other. Just something for you to take notice that Double or Nothing was never mentioned in this segment earlier today. So just wanted to throw it out there. All right. So, AEW tonight, I'm just going to give you some quick results. We opened up the show with the Blackpool Combat Club. Apparently laid out the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks were taken to the hospital via ambulance. During the show, we find out that Brandon Cutler claims that it was the Blackpool Combat Club that attacked the Young Bucks. Yes, we are leading to a 6-person tag team with the Elite versus the Blackpool Combat Club. Page will get involved. You thought Hangman Page was done with Moxley even before the last event. We thought, okay, Revolution, good, they're done. Hey, blood squirting like a bad ninja film, good, they're done. I'm tired of Hangman Page and Moxley. And you see, we've only just begun. So the Young Bucks are taken to the hospital. Later on, Kenny Omega is upset. I should be there with them. It's to add additional drama that Kenny's got so much on his mind, and but he's got to do what he's got to do tonight. He's facing Hijo del Vikingo, the son of the Viking. So it's to add a little bit drama to the storyline. Sting, Darby Allin, and Orange Cassidy beat Kip Sabian, the Butcher and the Blade. Sting with the Scorpion Death Drop on Kip Sabian. Fun match. Interesting that it wasn't Sting's rules, even though they pretty much let a lot, get by. As we said earlier, the Guns over Top Flight. Kingdom get involved, attack Top Flight. That'll leak over to Ring of Honor's Honor Club. And then FTR has the confrontation with the Guns, challenged them, and we got with the match. When it happens, we will know soon. We got more legal dumb shit with Mark Sterling. Apparently, Taya Valkyrie cannot use her finisher because Jade is the only one that could use Jade. I could swear that someone else in AEW uses Jaded also. I could swear I've seen, maybe it was Dark and it was somebody else, just somebody. I remember someone else using Jade, and maybe I'm wrong, but Layla Gray is going to personally deliver, I guess, cease and desist papers on Rampage, and she's going to fight Taya Valkyrie on Rampage. And by the way, little preemption note, Rampage will air Saturday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. It is preempted. Saturday night, 10 p.m., I don't think it's that bad of a time slot. Look, last week they did 11 p.m. or 11:30, was somewhere around there, and they did almost 500,000 viewers. So it shows you that it's not necessarily just the time slot. It's, the vibe and the programming. NXT, they're on at 8 o'clock prime time. And honestly, I've had a hard time getting into the last couple of weeks. And the Roxanne Perez stuff, oof, I have something to say about that a little bit later. So that match is set for Rampage. Hook over Stokely Hathaway. I only took one screenshot from tonight, other than the FTR challenge. And that's this. Stokely Hathaway. You know what I loved about this Nation of Domination outfit? You know what I loved the most about it? Look at the center. And it looks like almost like a belt that is looped over. Everybody immediately, with the Nation of Domination jokes, but a lot of people don't know that early on, Farouk actually had something similar, for a very, very short period of time. But yeah, he gave me fucking, look, that was his outfit, Nation of Domination vibes, man. Pretty good. And, he did everything he was supposed to. I have a doctor's note. I'm not cleared to wrestle tonight. Referee looks at it. Justin Roberts is like, this is not a doctor's note. This is a ticket for ringside. So they tear it up. They have the match. Stokely using a fire extinguisher. It was no DQ, but in the end, Hook gets the victory. And, it was a fun match. You knew what you were getting with this match. Adam Cole hits the ring. Little story time, hyping up next week. All Access debuts. He's going to have his return match next week. And as I said earlier, Daniel Garcia came out, challenged him, put himself over, and rightfully so. Almost, called himself a professional wrestler, but he had to stop because he's a sports entertainer. And next week we get Adam Cole versus Daniel Garcia on Dynamite. Definitely looking forward to see Adam Cole back in the ring. Absolutely. We got to see where this goes with Adam Cole. Is Adam Cole going to also align himself with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and Hangman Page? Because right now, Kyle O'Reilly is still out of action, and we don't even need to go there with Bobby Fish. Where is the lie? Where? Oh, by the way, Impact Wrestling has sacrificed this Friday, and I'm going to give you a quick preview and some predictions. A few of you asked me to give some predictions, so I will absolutely oblige. We will do that in a few minutes. And that's not a lie. All right. Jon Moxley over Stu Grayson. He beat him with the Avalanche Death Rider. After the match is over, we see Stu Grayson in the back. Does it hurt over here? And the doctor, it looked like Leslie Nielsen, like in a bad, Naked Gun, or maybe when he was the doctor on Airplane. The doctor is like, does it hurt? And he's pushing on it. I mean, that's almost like, hey, does this hurt? Does it hurt when I do this? Does it hurt when I do this? So Moxley shows up and beats the shit out of him. Blackpool Combat Club, full-blown heels. As we said last week, nobody's talking about it. I had people last week, why did you put Bryan Danielson and Hangman and Jon Moxley on the banner when we're going to get this in a dream match? And now, people are starting to be like, okay, Bryan Danielson is off TV because how does he explain the actions of his fellow Blackpool Combat Club members? That's why he's off TV, and nobody is talking about it. Soon they will, and then you'll see, not only will they put long-term booking, but they will capitalize it. Listen, I understand the power of capitalization. I understand that it definitely draws people in. I capitalize stuff at times. My God, when I hyped up this all week, I made sure I capitalized every fucking letter because I wanted everybody for it to stand out, because I wanted people to know that, Kevin and I did a return show, and who knows, we may do more. He was on with me last night for half an hour on Patreon. But I will say this, and I mentioned it briefly over the weekend, and we actually talked about it yesterday too. So many people wanted to see, us back and, straighten things out and this and that. And, we took baby steps, and all is cool in the gang. But the funny thing about it is, literally not one podcaster, people who are friends with, people who always said, oh, you guys weren't into, because like I've said before, Kevin and I combined, we've been doing this 44 years. 44 years we're doing this. And yes, I could brag I'm the longest person doing this. I don't know when to quit. But the thing is that, when it came out there, we don't need the accolades. We don't need the likes. We don't look for them. But it's nice to see when your friends are like, oh, shit, you guys, remember the mid-2000s when these two guys were, going on TNA and this and that? They're going to do a reunion show. Not one person plugged it. It was pretty eye-opening. And I actually had a friend of mine who's going to be working an AEW Dark Match very, very soon, who DM'd me over the weekend. And I told Kev about it. He saw it too. And the guy's like, these podcasters do not want you two back. That they think that you're going to start soaking up, And listen, if we do more, it's not to spite podcasters. Honestly, at the end of the day, there's only a couple of people who I truly give a shit about in the podcasting world, and some I have done shows with. And by the way, congratulations to Jason Salamonster. I did not know this. Kev mentioned it to me yesterday while we were doing Patreon. Jason hit 800 episodes of Salamonster Sounds Off over the weekend. So if Jason happens to see this, or if you guys and gals are supporters and fans and friends of Jason's show, wish him a congratulations, and I really mean that. 800 episodes of Salamonster Sounds Off. That's a pretty big deal. You average one a week, 52 weeks. That is a very fucking long time. That's like 15, 16 years. So props to him. But other than a select few people, it shows you at the end of the day, people are so paranoid about keeping their viewers and keeping their listeners and keeping their supporters that, and you know what? That was probably me in 2005. 2005, from In Your Head and everyone else, I used to rip everybody, until somebody in wrestling straightened me out and said, Anthony, I wasn't DT yet, but Anthony, have people tune into you, not because the other people suck, but because you're good. And I know that sounds ridiculous and cliche, but that's a message to each and every one of you out there. If you ever do a podcast or something, wrestling or not, take my advice from day one. Have people tune into you, not because other people suck. It's because you're good. And, that was a game changer. That was a game changer. So anyway, let's get back to the results. Ricky Starks. This was kind of strange. Mixed messages. It's ridiculous that I have to leave vacation early to confront Juice Robinson. But then, like in the same sentence, he says, I'm sick and tired of just standing here and talking, and I want to wrestle. Well, then why the fuck did you go on vacation? Anyway, he issues the challenge to Juice Robinson and says, show up on Rampage. And it was funny because I'm a huge fan of Ricky Starks, but it came off as a child because he basically said, listen, if you want to fight me, show up at Rampage on Friday. But if you don't, leave me alone. Leave me alone. Why do you keep bothering me? That's what it came across as in his promo. He's like, if you don't show up, then please leave me alone. Now, if I'm Juice Robinson's storyline, I troll that motherfucker even more. I get him so pissed off he forgets to put his shoes on. Seriously, he puts 2 different color socks on. So we'll see what happens on Friday. I personally think they got to milk this to Forbidden Door, but who knows? Who knows? Rampage on Saturday. Rampage Saturday. So Juice Robinson, Ricky Starks. Also on Saturday, Powerhouse Hobbs will be taking on Penta. Brody King will be taking on Jake Hager. And the Kingdom will be taking on the Acclaimed. Will Top Flight attack the Kingdom and help the Acclaimed win? Tony Storm over Sky Blue with Storm Zero. The Outcast attempt to spray paint Sky Blue once again. And here comes, I can't say it. I'll get myself in trouble. Riho and Willow Nightingale. That duo is an interesting duo. They are an oddity. And I think of some movies, and I'm sure if you think of some legendary pairings in the entertainment world, you probably would get an idea of where I'm going with the Hijo and the Willow Nightingale. You know, I mean, I should talk. I have more chins in a Chinese restaurant, but it was fun. But when Rio runs down to the ring, she's got this lead pipe and she's swinging it like this, and I was like, "Oh, you're so unintimidating." I literally would just grab you by your pigtails and like a bad cartoon, just wind you up and flip you into the crowd. But that's where they're going with this. We'll probably see. I think that was the match we said 2 weeks ago. Sky Blue, Willow Nightingale, and Hijo versus the Outcast. And you know what? It's cool to see Saray on TV almost every week. Be honest with you. I'm kind of happy that she's on TV every week, even though she's not wrestling, but still. Then we had the main event as we opened up with the show. Kenny Omega defeating El Hijo del Vikingo. No championships on the line. It was advertised as a dream match. In fact, the commercial before Dynamite even started, when the Big Bang Theory was still on, they were talking about a once-in-a-lifetime dream match. And I was like, they're really pushing this dream match narrative. And, I don't have an issue with it. Like I said at the beginning of the show, if the people online would just enjoy it, you want to learn a little bit, you want to say, hey, guys, if you want to see what this guy's all about, check out this video. It's pretty cool. No, people had to talk down on people. And, I'll get to Tony Khan in a second because this led to him on Twitter, which allowed me to bring back this legendary thumbnail. I upgraded it a little bit. And, I will reveal my age. It's pretty sad that there's a lot of people that have no idea what this tribute is for. There's a few of you out there know, but this is one of the greatest groups of all time. And it kind of breaks my heart that I'm that fucking old, that I put tributes like that, and people have no idea why that's on there and who it's all about. So it's pretty wild to see that. But listen, El Hijo del Vikingo, I think, was announced at 160 pounds. You remember when 205 Live was considered small. I don't have any issue with his weight because when I saw Rey Mysterio at the Lost Battalion Hall, for the first time I ever saw him, and then saw him at the ECW Arena once, that motherfucker was small. Psychosis looked, he looked like he was 7 feet tall next to Rey Mysterio. In fact, if I remember correctly, when Psychosis took on Rey for the first time and he was wearing the all white, which was one of the funniest things, guys, if you never saw it, you got to go look up the video of Psychosis versus Rey Mysterio in ECW when Psychosis came in wearing all white. That arena, listen, I loved the ECW arena. I loved it when ECW was there. I loved it when I was doing some work for XPW. I miss it. It's not what it used to be. The grit, just everything about it. I'm telling you, when I walked into that empty arena when we first started doing work for XPW and it was quiet, like I literally just stood there. And I remember Bill Apter was there and a few other people were there. I remember just standing there and literally didn't close my eyes like a goof, but I literally was just envisioning like some of the memories that I experienced there. And it really does. It's almost like if you go to like Yankee Stadium, you go to a ballpark and there's nobody in the building, but you went to anywhere for a World Series or a playoff game or something, WrestleMania, and you're in there and it's quiet. You don't hear anything. And it really does get to you. But one of the bright spots was seeing Psychosis. And he wore all white. And one thing about the ECW arena, even though it's my favorite building, my second favorite building is the Elks Lodge. My third favorite is Madison Square Garden. But that building, as awesome as it was, how amazing the fans were, and even us New Yorkers, when we would go there, it was kind of like, you got to worry in 1995. Like you go into Philly, that's enemy territory, especially at that time, the New York Giants, Philadelphia Eagles, even the New York Knicks a little bit with the Philadelphia 76ers. the Rangers and the Flyers. But then again, the Rangers in the 80s, mid-80s, I don't remember them being all that good. But we went there, and I've told this before, and, we were friendly with a couple of people that lived in Philly, and they introduced us to a bunch of Philly guys. And I remember the first time going in, like, hey, here's my friends from New York. And, we were like a little bit hesitant, like, oh my God, we're going to get fucking hazed. We're in Philly. Everybody was cool. And that's why I always said, this is the difference between AEW and ECW. I know AEW hardcore fans hate when I say this, but it is the truth. You ask any wrestler that ever was a part of ECW that still follows wrestling today, they will tell you that I am 1,001% correct. The difference between the ECW vibe amongst fans and the AEW vibe amongst fans, look at the last 6 days on social media. Look at how people were treated simply because, hey, this is not a dream match for me. Hey, why should I care about this match? Like, hey, whatever you feel, whether it's the build, whatever your feelings are, breaking news, you're allowed to not like something. You're allowed to say, look, I don't really care about this match. Yeah, I've seen all the video games, and everybody does flippy, then nobody does flippy. The difference is that when you went to ECW and you walked in that building, it didn't matter what you looked like, where you lived, what you were from, if you had a Raw shirt on, a WCW, whatever it was, you walked in there, everybody would turn on. As long as you weren't a dick, everybody would be like, hey, jump in the pool. The water is warm. Hey, come hang out. Come on, let's go get a beer. Let's go get a pretzel. That's the vibe that was in there. The only bad thing about it is it smelled like shit. It smelled like armpits. It smelled like rotten yeast. You could tell that there was a lot of guys at that time that didn't wash their balls. Trust me, if you've ever been in a gym and it's or a fucking any type of club, membership club, any type of environment like that, and you got all these sweaty men in the locker rooms. Hey, I'm gonna go take a shower. You go smell that locker room before everybody hits the shower. It smells like dirty balls. Trust me, that was, and you know what the best part is? What was it, the Sportatorium? The Sportatorium that had no ventilation at all, and it was like 120 degrees in there. Just imagine the Sportatorium, and just imagine it being over 100 degrees because they're in Texas. And that's like the ECW arena. The only difference was the Sportatorium, it had a nice array. Not only did you have 40-year-old Texas hicks with smelly, sweaty balls, but you also had 75-year-old women that basically haven't showered since, unless the bathtub has handles. Then you got women that they sprayed a perfume and you could smell the armpits through the perfume. Unless, hey, is that a new scent? It smells like, oh, yeah, it's the new scent. It's from Fabergé. It's called Perspiration. You had a nice array. Then you had all the little girls that wanted to kiss the Von Erichs. I think they're probably the only ones that showered and actually tried to look nice and smell nice. So, but that's how I felt going into this match tonight. It's like, okay, I know who he is. I know who everybody is in New Japan, yet New Japan still gets 40,000 viewers. All right. People don't want to face the fact that somebody may be incredible in Mexico, amazing in Japan, but in the United States, I never saw a 630 going in reverse. So that's why I said, if you play video games and you ever wanted the epic, most amazing example of a video game coming to life, you got it tonight with El Hijo del Vikingo and Kenny Omega. And I loved it because these are human beings executing these moves. You look at it and you say to yourself, I don't care if he's 5'3", or whatever he is, 5'5". I don't care if he's 160 pounds. I don't understand how somebody could fucking spin that much. Even fucking scripts Or what was it? Who's the one that got released from WWE? Oh, fuck. Who's that mass wrestler? It's right on the tip of my tongue. Damn it. Oh, Sagata. They needed the trampoline to like jump over this motherfucker. Seriously, I don't understand how this guy can do it. And it does remind me of shades of Rey Mysterio back then. Rey didn't go to that extent. But you see, and I'm not throwing shade, but understand something. And let's be honest for a second. In 1995, in 2002, when fans started getting different shades of Rey Mysterio, the Rey Mysterio of 95 was a little bit different than the Rey Mysterio of 98, 2002, and even today. But at that time, when Rey and Psychosis and Hoovy, La Parka, and others were hitting these moves, and I don't put Conan in it because Conan was more ground, but I'm saying when you saw Rey, Psychosis, and Hoovy especially, you saw things that you never really saw before. And it was just amazing, like, how can they do this? And Rey was, 19 at the time or 18 years old? Now in this day and age, if you do what Rey did in 95, I think some people would find it boring. So now in this day and age, when everybody and their mother either has, not everybody, when a boatload of people do flippy stuff, and everybody does flippy. Someone is like, hey, I'm 160 pounds. Everybody do flippy. How am I going to stand out? Oh, I'm the son of a Viking. That will not get me all too far. So you do 360, I do 640. You go to, upside down reverse, I go reverse upside down. Whatever you do, I do in reverse, I do better. And that's what happens. So in 5-10 years, somebody's going to look at El Hijo del Vikingo's work and say, oh, he do it impressive. But so do this person and this person. Did you see AEW Dark? Did you see this? Did you say, why am I talking like that? And they're going to say, oh, Vikingo, he do this. I do this. Oh, you do this. Well, watch what I do. And, where does it end? So understand that a lot of what you saw tonight, when you look at it closely, and if you want me to be a dick for a second, I will. If you want me to give any criticism about that match, I will right now. No disrespect. Dream match or not. We might have a movie that it has actors that we always wanted to see in a movie together. Oh my God. I always wanted to see these people in a movie together. But if the acting is not top notch, then just because they're together. And I'm not saying that the wrestling was bad tonight. If you're forcing me to complain about anything, I'll say this, and there's a reason why I took the glasses off. I want to break them. There were too many times tonight where Vikingo was doing moves, and if you watch Kenny Omega, instead of Vikingo setting up what he's going to do, and Kenny Omega is standing there like Angie the potted plant. A few seconds too long. You could, me do flippy, upside down, to the right, 360, 480, into the reverse, springboard, down the puta, blah, blah, blah. And Kenny Omega, catch me. Like standing there waiting for it. And, that kind of like, okay, if that's one thing that I will tell you Rey and others did not do in the middle 90s. Everything was so, just quick. You didn't even get a chance to breathe. When you set up, oh, I'm going to do this. Well, I have to go do this and I have to go set up. Well, let me stand here and let me be ready and this and that. So again, I'm not criticizing the match. I love the match. The match was exactly what I thought it was going to be. Thank God nobody got hurt. But if you are forcing me to give any type of criticism whatsoever, when somebody has to stand there and literally wait an extra 2 or 3 seconds is just waiting to be hit, not for nothing, don't tell me, well, people put their bodies on the line and use it. No. If it takes you 6 seconds to do that, then maybe you shouldn't be doing that move. You do anything in competition that requires time. Go fucking on your mark, get set. No, wait, we need to do this. I got to set up. I got to do this. I got to do. And they blew the whistle already. And everybody's halfway down the thing, and you're like, no, I'm setting up. Give me a minute. So, but the match was tremendous. After the match is over, Kenny Omega, you just had an amazing dream match. I don't know. I sometimes I wonder if I could still do this. And next thing you know, Blackpool Combat Club show up. And I swear to God, man, I wanted to punch myself in the ears when I heard Orange Cassidy's music to start the show outside of the ambulances. My feelings about that. They put that fucking song on. But at the end, I'm getting tired of the ring bell being rung 15 times over and over and over again because they keep having NWO-like clusterfuck beatdowns. And then Hangman Page can't get an Uber, can't fucking get back to the building sooner. Let me rob the ambulance. Let me rob the ambulance and drive back to the arena. I know it's sports entertainment, but, it's kind of like, I honestly would have rather seen it go off the air with Kenny Omega and Vikingo showing a sign of respect, and that's it. But it almost feels like they're forcing this Hangman Page realigning with Kenny Omega, and we'll get the elite hug, and everybody will compare it to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. You watch. The ambulance thing, I agree, is a little overdone in wrestling, especially when you hear it on the loudspeakers and Hangman Page is still in the fucking parking lot. It's like he should have drove inside the building and you hear it inside the building. That would make a little bit more sense. But, plus, how did people even know that it was Hangman Page driving up with the ambulance? Maybe the ambulance was pulling up for El Hijo del Vikingo. Maybe the ambulance was pulling up just to check. Oh, Stu Grayson. Maybe the ambulance was there for Stu Grayson. He got knocked the fuck out earlier. So, but it was a good Dynamite. I wrote this earlier this week, even before they advertised Sting and everything. AEW's rating will rebound this week. Absolutely will rebound. Last week, they did like 850,000, and they did that for 2 weeks in a row. And very, very soon, I'm going to do a rant about MJF. Not tonight. Do it another night because we've already gone an hour and we're almost done. But, I'm wondering if the bloom is off the rose a little bit with MJF. And, just because he's edgy and vulgar and he gets to say things that a lot of us miss, like in the Attitude Era, and is over the top, it may actually be turning more people off than you think. So I don't want to I'm not putting the blame on him, but, there's something off with the MJF stuff. Even when you pay close attention with ratings and stuff like that. And yes, the 4 pillar segment last week was the most viewed segment outside of quarter one. But, that's a dream match. In my opinion, that's a dream match. So, all right. We'll quickly run down NXT results. A couple of news tidbits about Stand and Deliver. Some of you should be very, very happy about it. I'll briefly get into Impact Wrestling Sacrifice. I got to just pull up the photos here. Just give me 1 second to pull them up. Yes, I have them right here. Okay. I got them ready. NXT this week only did 550,000 viewers, down from last week's 590. Braun Breaker fans are ready for a change. They didn't turn on Braun Breaker, as we've been talking about for almost 2 months. It's time for a change. Carmelo Hayes is the heir apparent. Yesterday, I had Carmelo Hayes and Braun Breaker teaming up to defeat Pretty Deadly. And even with that, I was not interested in watching it live first run. something has changed. And the interesting thing about it is, I think part of it is Mandy Rose being fired and Toxic Attraction being forced to split. I think a lot of people underestimated how much, no pun intended, they were an attraction for Tuesday nights. Let me tell you something. More people would take part in Mandy Rose and Toxic Attraction contests that I would do, even in watch parties, than anything else. The NXT watch parties, even though the number of people that showed up was low, it still was on the level of SmackDown. Or the nights we would do SmackDown and Rampage together. Something has changed with NXT, and the storylines, even though they're pulling a little bit of Shawn Michaels from the mid-90s, I don't think that's enough. I think that edginess has gone away a little bit. Cora Jade has been pretty much absent, and I wonder if now Cora Jade is going to be the one revealed to run everybody over in the parking lot. Who knows? I don't know. And then Roxanne Perez. People reported the last 48 hours that she's cleared to return to the ring. And Roxanne Perez putting updates online. Look, the doctors still don't know what's going on, but I'll be back and I'll be stronger than ever. And all I keep thinking to myself is, okay, all right, motherfuckers, you want to keep pulling from mid-90s with Shawn Michaels? Why don't you pull mid to late 90s with Rocky Maivia? Have Roxanne Perez turn heel. I think if Roxanne Perez ends up turning fucking heel, it's not going to be on the level of Rocky Maivia turning into The Rock, but that is someone that I think nobody in their wildest dreams would ever think would be turning heel anytime soon. Roxanne Perez, I like Roxanne Perez. When she won that championship, it was a cool moment. Yes, we did not know that night that Mandy Rose was gone. But since then, we even talked about it. I think the reason why they took the title off of her is because she has no feuds. She has no feuds. They blew their load with Cora Jade versus Roxanne Perez too early. Going into Stand and Deliver, she had nobody feuding with. There's nobody on the roster that she could feud with leading into Stand and Deliver. And who knows, maybe she does get called up to the main roster. A lot of people think that she's main roster bound. I personally think you got to close the chapter in NXT before you open the chapter on the main roster. And I think Triple H and Shawn Michaels also realized that. Johnny Gargano leaving to have a kid is a little bit different. But when Grayson Waller attacked him, he was basically attacking him on the way out. He's about to have a kid. So, you understood why Gargano never got revenge on Grayson Waller. But by the time Gargano came back, he's on the main roster. Never had a chance. Now at Stand and Deliver, he gets that revenge. That was pretty easy to figure out. But with Roxanne Perez, if they don't close that chapter on NXT and she just pops up on the main roster, that is going to be one of the most sloppy storylines that NXT has done in recent memory. And look, not everything in NXT is great. A lot of it is throw shit on the wall and see if it sticks. Some of it does and some of it doesn't. But I think the combination of Mandy Rose being fired, forcing the Toxic Attraction split, and, if you pay close attention, fans are not really into Gigi Dolan versus JC Jane. That might be one of the bombs of the year. And it's really not their fault. You would have thought when JC Jane attacked Gigi Dolan, I mean, my God, when she got kicked in the face, if there was ever a blood feud, it would be that. It's because the fans didn't want them to split. The fans felt it was forced. You could feel when something is forced. JC Jane wants to be on her own. Not a lot of people bought into that. And, yes, this is entertainment. It's suspension of disbelief, but it's entertainment. It's suspension of disbelief. If fans cannot suspend disbelief, that, these two really didn't want to split, they're not going to buy into it. The only time they buy into it is if the feud is so awesome that you just get used to it and you start liking it, you start digging it. If you remember, we had some splits happen in AEW. You could use anybody for an example. And in the beginning, it felt a little bit confusing. And then after a while, you're like, oh, okay. And the opposite, where someone you think is going to turn and they don't. And you're like, wait, that's kind of like, but then you get used to it and you kind of like it. With Gigi Dolan and JC Jane, I mean, it fizzled out. It fizzled as quickly as an Alka-Seltzer. Literally, they threw the Alka-Seltzer in the water, and before you know it, the water was still. So they only did 550, and that is not a good number, especially when you're less than 2 weeks away from Stand and Deliver. So the match results, as I said, Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes over Pretty Deadly. We had 2 qualifiers for the women's ladder match to determine the next women's champion. Hey, it's on April 1st. Maybe they'll do an April Fool's. Maybe we'll have an April Fool's. But Lyra Valkyria, and I know people always say, you sound like you're saying liar. Lyra Valkyria and Tiffany Stratton both qualified. Ilya Dragunov and JD McDonough went to a no contest. Now, there's one spot left in the women's match, and Indy Hartwell lost yesterday, and Ivy Nile lost yesterday. Last week, Sal Ruka also lost her qualifier. So they announced that next week, those 3 women are going to face each other, and whoever wins, it's like a second chance. Whoever wins gets in the match. A lot of people are rooting for Indy Hartwell. I honestly don't see Indy Hartwell winning the NXT Women's Championship. So, she's probably the most likely person to be in that match. But, if I'm going to go with anyone, I think Sal Ruka would be pretty interesting. But I think Indy Hartwell's probably earned it a little bit more seriously. Now, the lineup for Stand and Deliver as of right now, and this is pretty cool, especially for the Wesley match, because if you remember last week's show, we predicted 4 people that were going to be in that match he was going to select, and he's chosen 3 of the 4 so far, and the 3 that he chose were all of our picks. So Gargano will be taking on Grayson Waller, and that's probably going to be a street fight. Braun Breaker versus Carmelo Hayes for the NXT Championship. Zoe Stark versus Gigi Dolan versus Tiffany Stratton versus Lyra Valkyria, and to be announced next week, ladder match for the NXT Women's Championship. Fallon Henley and Kiana James versus Alba Fire and Isla Dawn for the Women's Tag Team Championship. Gallus versus the Creed brothers versus the Family, which I found very interesting for 2 reasons. One, people are always comparing Tony D with Tony D, but what have I always called all of you? For years, La Nostra Familia, my great family, the family. I always shout at, so they're the family. But I honestly thought they were going with Gallus versus the Schism. Why they're waiting, I don't know, unless the Schism is coming to the main roster, or maybe part of the Schism. I don't know. But now Wes Lee, this is pretty cool. So far, he has chosen to be in the match with him for the North American Championship. Dragon Lee, JD McDonough, and Ilya Dragunov. So he has one more slot to fill. I hope it's Dijak. I think Dijak has earned to be in that match. I think it would be tremendous. It's not a ladder match. It's a fatal 5-way. I want to see Dijak be that last pick. And then we got another one. Chase University, and because they only have 2 guys, they needed a third. So they have Tyler Bate with them. Got to tune into NXT to understand why. But Chase University of Andre Chase, Duke Hudson, Tyler Bate, and Thea Hale will be taking on the Schism. Joe Gacy, Rip Fowler, Jagger Reed, and Ava Rain. The winner of the match gains control of Chase University. I know it sounds a little goofy. The Schism having Chase University, I mean, it's one of the most over things for the local NXT fans to be part of during the shows. I personally don't see them getting rid of Chase University. So we'll do predictions next week. But that is a match also for Stand and Deliver. Now, Impact Wrestling Sacrifice. Actually, before we get into Impact Wrestling Sacrifice, I think we'll save Tony Khan for last. I wanted to show you this because a lot of people are immediately thinking it has to do with AEW. I'm not so sure, but I want to share it with you. Vickie Guerrero went on Twitter. She might have done it also on Instagram. She posted a cryptic message. This is what she posted. It is a picture that says, "Never beg for a seat when you could build your own table." Read that again. Never beg for a seat when you could build your own table. All right. Now, her added comments to that is, life lesson. This is what she wrote, her own words. Life lesson. Don't waste your time in a place that you are not appreciated or respected. Immediately, everybody is thinking, well, she's gone from AEW. Her contract is not being renewed. They have agreed to part ways. A lot of people saw this and immediately said to themselves, wow, Vickie Guerrero's taking a shot at AEW. She feels underappreciated and not respected. A lot of you wanted my thoughts on it. I honestly, my immediate reaction is still how I feel right now. I have a feeling this was written towards the Bellas, the Garcia twins, because the Bellas recently departed ways with WWE. They're not allowed to use the Bellas name. And I think Vickie Guerrero may have been sending a message to them that do not waste your time in a place that you are not appreciated or respected. And I know for a fact Nikki Bella feels disrespected more than anybody, more than her sister. Nikki Bella, as we talked about last week, is the biggest reason why they are no longer part of WWE. Her going on Tamron Hall. I mean, Brie Bella is no, innocent victim here, but Nikki Bella really trying to be outspoken. People don't want to admit it. They don't want to ruffle feathers, but there were a lot of women in WWE that were not happy at Nikki Bella for her remarks at Raw 30. Nikki Bella and Brie Bella were going to be, people at the poker game. That's all they were going to do. They were going to be standing there with a drink, probably. And they felt, that they should have the red carpet rolled out for them. So WWE's like, you know what? No. Go away. Just get out of here. Oh, and by the way, you don't use the Bellas either. We own that. So I think, Vickie, that might have been a message for them. Don't stay in a place that you feel disrespected. I honestly don't think it has anything to do with AEW. Look, we could play conspiracy theory and say, oh, Vickie Guerrero takes shot at AEW, question mark. That's not my style. If I thought it was directed towards AEW, then I will say it, but I don't think it was. So, all right, very quickly, we have Impact Wrestling. They're going to have Sacrifice this Friday, which is the 24th of March, which is 3 days before March 27th, which is a day after the anniversary of WCW Monday Nitro going off the air, which happens to be my birthday, Monday. So we're going to have a little birthday fun here. I don't know if I'm going to blow out any candles or eat cake, but Monday we will have a little birthday fun here. So, all right. Here's your matches. I think 9 were announced. Just going to give you quick predictions because honestly, when you look at the ratings and there's only 80,000 viewers and 90,000 viewers, that means a lot of you out there are not watching Impact Wrestling. But there are enough matches on here that I think it's worth a watch if you want to go check it out. And by the way, this is fucking awesome, man. The poll on the chat right now, which fits your complaint about Kenny Omega versus El Hijo de Vikingo's dream match announcement? Right now, 51% is for not one of your dream matches, and 49% is lack of build for the match. Very split down the middle. And, I will say this before we get into the predictions, and then we'll talk Tony Khan for a few moments. Kenny Omega took note of the criticism online. about this match. And he talked to Justin Barrasso of Sports Illustrated. I like Justin Barrasso, but Justin Barrasso, sometimes I feel, his crown jewels are more like little nuggets or pencil erasers than chestnuts, because I never see the follow-up question. I never see the rebut. I almost feel, as I'm reading this and I'm just picturing the interviewer with the interviewee, I almost picture, the person on the other side, is like, don't you dare ask me a rebut question, because when Kenny Omega addressed the fan criticism, he only focused on match build. And he said the 2 times he was most blown away, actually, I'll go even a little bit further back. He says that a lot of criticism from fans was how not nearly enough build was given to the debut of Vikingo, who is largely unknown in the United States, at least for now. And he says the 2 times I was most blown away were by individuals I'd never seen heading into the match. One was Rey Mysterio versus Psychosis in ECW, and the other was Great Sasuke versus Taka Michinoku when they went to WWF. That took me down a rabbit hole, and it helped create the wrestler I am today. So the people that want to cast this match away because they're not too familiar with Vikingo, I hope they give it a shot. Allow this young man to display what makes him so special. We're going to give more than enough time for him to earn his spot on the show. But they were focusing, even Justin Barrasso's comments leading into the interview, they only focused on match build. And I thought that was, very, very one-sided, because I thought there were a lot of people out there that were like, look, we didn't know anything about Action Andretti. We didn't know anything about others, and they do their thing and everybody, falls for them. Why would anybody do any different for Vikingo? I think Kenny Omega just looked at it and is like, look, when you keep plastering in everybody's face, dream match, 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 and 99% of the people out there are like, for who? For you? Well, maybe for you, but not for me. So if it's a dream match that we're supposed to feel it's a dream match, then why not do a build? Why not show a little bit of history? Why not just have fucking Excalibur in a 30-second clip tonight, halfway through the show, and talking about why the match was supposed to happen and why it didn't happen? Why not promote it for a week or two and have something built to it? So it was both, but they only took one side of it. And that'll lead to Tony Khan in a moment. But first, Impact Wrestling Sacrifice on Friday. You can check it out on Fight or Impact Plus. Jonathan Gresham versus Speedball Mike Bailey. Believe it or not, Mike Bailey has got a bigger following than people realize, and Jonathan Gresham is great. We all know his abilities already, but I'm going with Speedball Mike Bailey to win this match. I think some people may even call it an upset. Check this out. They're actually calling them Time Machine. Kushida, Alex Shelley, and Chris Sabin taking on Frankie Kazarian, Josh Alexander, and Rich Swann in a 6-man tag match. I have a feeling they're going to give it to Time Machine. And Kushida, look, I like Kushida, but obviously no matter who is on Impact Wrestling, it doesn't draw ratings, and I will prove my point in a few seconds, but I'm going with Time Machine to get the win there. Next, we got Kenny King over PCO. PCO, I mean, it's amazing that he is still doing what he's doing. I'm shocked that we haven't seen him do stuff in AEW. Maybe he just doesn't want to be there. Hey, maybe AEW doesn't want him there. I was very annoyed at some comments that QT Marshall wrote online when he was feuding with Raj Giri a week or two ago. And QT Marshall made a remark that he's sick and tired of, people in the business losing opportunity because people with influence basically take a narrative and they have a following. And basically what he's saying is that, there's people out there that will shit on people, and as a result, they lose opportunity. And I think that is so fucking one-sided and selfish, because we could come up with a huge list of names, not name Hulk Hogan, that you know AEW would never bring in because the IWC would lose their shit. You know what I felt bad for this weekend? Nia Jax, Lena Fanine. I felt bad for her because she was doing a virtual autograph signing, and she had a lot of fans that turned out to see her. And she was very, very nice, very cool, very cordial. And she was answering questions and signing autographs. And I don't care how you feel about her in the ring, but she was really, really cool for everybody that she was signing for. And somebody asked her if she would ever be interested in working for AEW. And she said she would. And that was it. That was it. It opened the fucking floodgates on social media. So when QT Marshall, and you know what I have a problem with QT Marshall's remark also? Something that I guarantee that 99.9% of you out there have not thought about. When he says that he's sick of people who've lost opportunity, basically because people online, journalists, podcasters, anybody with a following will shit on someone. QT, why don't you name me a couple of the wrestling promoters who decided not to hire someone because people online shit on those people? Something tells me that Tony Khan's name would be in that sentence. Does anybody in their right mind think that wrestling promoters out there didn't bring someone in because podcasters crapped on them, or they just thought that somebody actually sucks? I honestly don't know anybody who's ever done that. You actually dive a little bit deeper into what he said, it kind of doesn't make sense. And if anything, AEW might try to be more politically correct with their fans than anybody else. That if somebody is really disliked, AEW would never even think about bringing them in. So, QT, I know you were going with that, but when you start actually thinking about it, you might want to look in the mirror. Not necessarily he's responsible for that, and look, I'm not saying if Nia Jax would be a good fit in AEW. I plead the fifth right now. All I'm saying is that she's just answering a fan's question, doing an autograph signing, being friendly, and people went so fucking vicious on her. I'm like, man, those people are assholes. Seriously. And just shut up. This is my honest opinion. All right. So with that said, with PCO, I'm going with Kenny King. I don't think PCO needs the victory at this point. Kenny King, you would think by now his name would be more of a household name, and it's not. Joe Hendry defending the Digital Media Championship against Brian Myers. I see Joe Hendry retaining that championship. Brian Myers, I like. I dug his WWE stuff. Right now, it just feels matter of fact. I think Joe Hendry will probably retain that championship. Giselle Shaw versus Deonna Purrazzo. As much as I like Deonna Purrazzo, I feel we need a little bit of an upset here. And I'm actually going to go with Giselle Shaw to get the upset over Deonna Purrazzo. I expect fuckery. I expect something to happen totally unexpected. I think Deonna Purrazzo look on her face when she gets pinned. I think that could happen. We will see. Oh, yeah. Oh, look at that, everybody. Oh my God. Look. Wait a minute. The lights go off. They flash Bullet Club on Dynamite screen. It's Juice Robinson, who's under AEW contract. And everybody's, oh my God, Bullet Club. The Bullet Club are in Impact Wrestling right now. They are taking on TMDK for the Impact Tag Team Championships. You hear anybody talking about Bullet Club in Impact Wrestling? You don't hear nothing. When Bronson Reed was in Impact, when Jay White was in Impact, and anybody you want to come up with from Japan that was in Impact, and nobody fucking gave a shit. But you flash it on the screen on AEW. I don't think Bullet Club is winning. I don't see them holding Impact Tag Team Championships anytime soon, but hey, anything could happen at this point. All right. Believe it or not, I actually, I like this match. I know I've seen it a trillion times over the years, but because they do the radio show, the podcast, the Sirius XM show, I kind of like it. It's a busted open match between Tommy Dreamer and Bully Ray. And I'm going to go with Bully Ray to win this one. So Yeah, I'm gonna go Bully Ray to win this one. I listen, ECW, these guys. I will say this, it kind of mind-boggling, especially when you think of hardcore wrestling back in the 90s. Would you have ever thought in a million years and almost 30 years later that these two guys would be in the ring? Almost 30 years later. Because Bully Ray was, I think, 1995. I forget what the bodyguard name was when he first showed up on ECW TV. Tommy Dreamer, I think, was 93. I think he was around 93 for ECW, or maybe early 94. But about 30 years when you think about it. And they're still doing it. And they look good. Kind of mind-boggling, but I'm going with Bully Ray to win this one. Trey Miguel defending the X Division Championship against Lince Dorado. I like Lince, but I like Trey Miguel a little bit more. Trey Miguel is extremely over, as is Chris Bay, Ace Austin, as LeDude said. I think Trey Miguel is going to retain the X Division Championship. This might be the show stealer of all the matches, but Trey Miguel, I think, is going to retain his championship. And then I think probably the match that everybody is talking about more than anything because of the stipulation with Mickie James and her, retirement coming up soon. She is the current Knockouts world champion, and she's going to be taking on Jordynne Grace. And my feelings on Jordynne Grace. It is unbelievable, the physical appearance, the shape she has gotten herself into. She got bit by the bodybuilding bug. And I still remember the time when people were kind of fat shaming her on social media. Tough son of a bitch. Kind of like, when everybody talks about Rhea Ripley and the China comparisons, probably more because of the dark color hair and the size. I always thought Jordynne Grace was maybe somebody who could cross over as well. And she's a tough son of a bitch. I just don't see the Mickie James storyline ending this soon. I'm going to go with Mickie James to retain the Knockouts championship. I don't think it's the right time to have her drop this championship. It's not getting the press that it should, but it would be interesting if Mickie James actually dropped her title to Jordynne Grace as her finale. I don't know. But I will say this. You look at the Impact Wrestling roster. If anybody's going to dethrone Mickie James, it's going to be her. I know some people think Deonna Purrazzo, but they already visited that very recently. So I'm going to go with Mickie James to retain. But if we find out that Jordynne Grace actually dethroned her, would not surprise me. She's probably my pick to dethrone her. It's just an odd time to do it. It's not WrestleMania weekend, even though I know it's a week before. Just feels not enough attention is brought to it. So, all right, before we get out of here, I just want to comment briefly about one thing. I just want to mention it. And I'm going to say this to open it. I'm going to keep it very short and simple. There's no reason to bash, reboot everything. I tune into other podcasters. I check out Jason periodically, JD. I check out a lot of Jim Cornette, Brian Last. I listen to Conan stuff, Disco. I check out Vince Russo, a few others. I like a diverse opinion. I even watch a little bit of Brian and Vinny, little Dave Meltzer. When I see topics that catch my eye, I'm curious to see the responses. One thing that is really starting to get me mad is something that Brian Last said last week about Vince Russo. Not Vince Russo, sorry, Tony Khan. Forgive me. Brian Last actually said that he feels sorry for Tony Khan. And my take on it at this point, many years after AEW is formed, we're talking 4 years now. And even further when you think about the planning stages, why are people still expressing that they feel sorry for Tony Khan. He is not mentally retarded. He is not disabled. He doesn't have any personality disorders. He doesn't have any addictions that I'm aware of. I know a lot of people think that, he does, the Herb Abrams, his preferred choice of medicinal supplements. We don't want to use the C word on the show. Why do people feel sorry for him? I personally think at this point, this is a billionaire child who brags on social media that he goes back to the days of the internet prodigy chats from the mid-90s, the message boards from the late 90s. This is a guy that has been around the internet for 20 years. This is a guy who is a billionaire who is very, very intelligent with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tony Khan is extremely intelligent with his media ventures. You examine Tony Khan outside of AEW, I am so fucking impressed with his professionalism, his smarts, his business savvy. When it comes to pro wrestling, the child comes out of him. And why do people insist that his view about professional wrestling, his attitude, his behavior, why do people insist that it's different than the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, QT Marshall, Brandon Cutler, Michael Nakazawa, anybody in the back, Sammy Guevara, some people putting that. Why do people insist that Tony Khan is just like he's forced to just sit back and take whatever goes on? Why do people insist that Tony Khan doesn't think the same way? I'm really getting fed up with people with this, I feel bad for Tony Khan. No, I don't. This guy, you look at, if he didn't have the Jacksonville Jaguars, if he didn't have his other media outlets, if he didn't have these other business ventures, and all he had was wrestling, then I would compare him to like a Rich Wrestlicious with War, whatever the guy's name was. Remember the Wrestlicious guy? At least that fucking guy didn't go on social media and fucking say stupid shit. But this is a very successful businessman who acts like a baby, a child, when it comes to wrestling. And this guy, it's almost like somebody who works all day, sits in the office, has a tie, very, very professional, business-like. And then when it's over and it's Friday night, and then they go to the bar with their friends and they're dancing on tables and fucking, just acting all goofy and mooning people and acting like total morons. That's what it comes across like. This is where he lets his guard down. This is his stress ball. Like pro wrestling is his stress ball. This is where he gets to live all his fantasy. What's the sense of having billions if you can't enjoy spending it? So this is, Jay Leno has all his millions of cars. Tony Khan has got pro wrestlers. Other people have mansions and houses. This guy has got pro wrestling. And the thing is that his dream matches, remember Samoa Joe versus, I don't even remember, people still don't remember who his opponent was. And it wasn't, what's his face from Japan. Samoa Joe was facing someone on Rampage, and Tony Khan went on Twitter and said, this is a personal dream match of mine. If it's not a dream match of mine and it's not a dream match of yours, how's about respecting that maybe what people you like, we don't like? Or maybe what you really like, we like. And that came out in full display when the Kenny Omega El Hijo del Vikingo announcement came out last week. Because somebody posted a tweet. You're not expected to know who everyone is. I know a lot of people, and there are still others I'm learning about every day. But also, if you have the time to type who, and click post, then you have time to Google instead of posting who. So basically, this person is lecturing people that they can't go on social media and say, who is this guy? No, you shut the fuck up and you Google him instead. So Tony Khan sees this, and Tony Khan writes back and says that fans online that are writing who about El Hijo del Vikingo are not doing it to be genuine. A large percentage of those replies are not from real people. A lot of them are accounts that upon inspection seem to only exist to question and rip AEW, and most of their content seems to be a cover story to justify the existence of their accounts. Then he goes on to say, one of my favorite bits that they do is when they claim they used to be AEW fans in the old days, but not anymore. Yet when you dig into their old posts, there's nothing positive on AEW forever. I'm sure you all used to be great fans despite no evidence of that whatsoever. So basically, this guy not only is saying that a large part of these accounts are bots, but he's claiming that people are doing deep dives into some of the accounts online that criticize AEW to search for positive things about AEW. Imagine that, everyone, that if you don't have a large social media footprint and you complain about something, unless you have a resume of sucking AEW's dick, that, oh no, there's no evidence that you like that. I don't have to fucking tell you if I like AEW or not. I do a podcast, so I express my views here. But for the everyday fan, it's not required that they have to fucking kiss ass and write loads of compliments, and that if they criticize, that their criticism is only accepted as long as they have a history of licking you and praising you. And the fuck is that? I'm telling you. And then he goes on and talks about it. He used to be part of this message board back, in the 90s and this, that. You know, many people I know that were part of those message boards. The fuck does that mean? I've been online since the internet was born. I was on every fucking message board, every chat room. What does that mean? So honestly, this is why I get angry about this guy. And I'm sick and tired of people saying that they feel sorry for him. For what? Has he been diagnosed with any mental illness? This guy is just a child. He's an immature baby that when he loves something and we don't love it, God forbid we say, hey, who, not for nothing, this guy, if he was, if he was that big of a well-known person, why does he only have 7,000 viewers? And the best part about it is everybody on my Facebook, on my Twitter, nobody followed him last week. The minute they made the announcement, I went on his social media and I screenshotted that. Now, if any of you out there go on Twitter right now and you click somebody's profile, what you will see next to it is followed by, and it'll show a list of people that you follow who now follow that person also. Last week, not one person I followed him. Now there is 65. So this guy is not a household name in the United States. That's it. There is no reason. AEW, and here, I'll go one step further. Go on Google right now, or Yahoo, Alta Vista, whatever you go. Do a search. Type in Kenny Omega Dream Matches. I will give a shirt to anyone out there, your choice, WWE, AEW. I will give a shirt to anyone who posts in the comment section, a message board, a Reddit, not, something where somebody could just delete it and throw the name in there. You find me a top 10, a top 20, a top 50 list where somebody wrote El Hijo del Vikingo for Kenny Omega. I could not find one. That's not a knock on the match. That's not a knock on him. But when people truly were like, look, why should I care? Every fucking week I see people doing crazy shit. The Lucha Bros, the Young Bucks, everybody and their fucking mother doing all these dives. Why? Because he could do 2 extra things. Like I'm supposed to immediately care? You know, and that's not, again, it's not a knock on the guys, but because people didn't immediately not only gush, but they have to capitalize it. You know, oh, Kenny Omega versus El Hijo Vikingo will be fire, capital F-I-R-E. This match, if you don't know who he is, this is going to be amazing, capital A-M-A. You have to capitalize random words because you don't want to just express your opinion. You want to talk down on people to say, you know, how could you not? And if you saw tonight, because I watched it on social media, as this match was going on, you know the vibe that I got online? This is the vibe I got online. Wrestlers in wrestling loved it. A lot of wrestlers that have nothing to do with AEW loved it. They were enjoying what they were watching. A lot of AEW fans online, not everybody, but a good portion of them, were almost, you could feel it through the computer. This is what you felt. Fuck you to all the people out there that didn't want to care about this match. Fuck you if you couldn't Google a guy and you had to write who instead. Fuck you because you didn't think it was a dream match. You see what's going on? Fuck you. That's the vibe. And capital letters. Look at all the people out there that can't just say, wow, this was an awesome match. It was epic. No, they got to throw it in your face that, you see, we were right all along. You were wrong. And who is the fucking poster child leading the way? The guy that for some reason people feel sorry for, that people don't I think Brian and I loved his work now. I used to hate it. And now I'm one of the biggest supporters of what they do. But when I hear him say that, you know, he doesn't realize that there are people around him that might not, you know, they're too afraid to tell him, hey, Tony, you're not very good on Twitter. It's not. Tony Khan is not 17 years old. This is not that movie where a relative died and left the fucking Major League Baseball team to the 12-year-old nephew. This is a 40-year-old fucking adult with billions of dollars who is amazingly successful in the business world with the Jacksonville Jaguars, with his soccer team. You look at all of those ventures and you say, this is the same guy? It can't be. There's got to be a twin. It got to be a twin. There's no way that this guy could be that way in all those places. And here, he is a petulant little child. And the reason why you don't hear or see this online is because everybody wants a hand job. People that do podcasts, they want to get as many people to gush and cake and ice cream. They want to be liked. They want to be retweeted, followed. I've seen it. The more this goes by, this feels so much like TNA from 2005, 6, 7, 8, around that time period. Maybe not necessarily 05. I would say maybe 6, 7, and 8. The only difference is Dixie Carter never went online and trashed the fans. Dixie Carter would overhype announcements. Oh, tune into TNA Impact. There's going to be a major announcement that's going to change the landscape of wrestling forever. Tommy Dreamer showed up. You know, like Dixie Carter would hype things up because to her, unbelievable, epic, amazing, unbelievable. Look at my arms. I have goosebumps. My hair, I forgot to shave. Look, the hair is hanging, is erect on my arms. Look, I'm shaking, and it's not from coffee. She thought it was epic, amazing, unbelievable, and a lot of times it was a wet fart. She never criticized the fans online. This is the third time now that Tony Khan claims research investigation and has provided no proof whatsoever. There was never an investigation about bots. There was never an outside investigation about the fight with CM Punk and the Elite and everybody else. What do you think? They hired Inspector Gadget? They have forensic evidence that they examined the bite mark and they're like, oh, no, yeah, it's Ace. That's Ace's teeth. What do you think? Outside investigation? That was just done to basically get people to fucking leave them alone. Look, I don't want to talk about the fight. I don't want to bring up that my executives got the shit knocked out of them from CM Punk and got bit from Ace Frehley or whatever the fuck his name is, Ace Steel. So we just say it's an outside investigation. Oh, Oh, well, I totally understand why you can't say anything. It's an outside investigation. Oh, I totally get it. And Ariel Helwani, I was never a fan of Ariel Helwani up until about a year and a half ago. Now he's one of my favorite guys, and not because of the interview with Tony Khan, because that guy smelled the bullshit from a mile away. And he hit him with the questions. Tony Khan has never had that. I don't even know if Tony gets that from Shad. I don't even think Tony gets that from Shad. I think if he talked that way to Shad, I think Shad would put him in a corner and he would look like an abused dog shaking in his boots. Please don't hit me. I'm not saying that Shad hits him, but just like petrified. Nobody puts him in his place. So what I'm saying right now, it's not going to do any favors. I'll get a couple of DMs from some people like, yeah, look, I can't say that publicly, but you're absolutely right. But this, especially online, this feels like TNA all over again. All over again. And I want to support AEW so much, and I'm not going to take it out on the wrestlers, because the wrestlers, you should not take it out on them, because they're doing their job. All those wrestlers that are there, they're making money. They're setting themselves for the future. Anybody, if they can milk this guy's udders and get some extra paydays, get some extra money, that is awesome. I have a couple of friends of mine that, have worked dark matches not too long ago, and one that's going to be working one very, very soon. I told him, I said, fucking kill it. I hope you get, you get your just, you do. Anybody that works there, let them make as much money as they possibly. Look at Edema, the smartest man in pro wrestling, Miro. You look at what's going on. Make as much money as you can. Milk this motherfucker. Please the fans, but it's very hard. I will be taking some Wednesdays off because I don't get many days during the week to just relax. And honestly, AEW sometimes, they show like their office, when you hear about this stuff over here, when Tony Khan says it's just bots and haters, do you ever hear Tony Khan ever ask, hey, AEW fans, for those that are kind of, feel a little bit off or maybe not as excited as before, why? For the AEW fans out there, why have you maybe decided to not watch it on Wednesday? Maybe you still watch it on Hulu. Maybe you watch it on YouTube. Maybe you watch it later on in the week. But why do you stop? No, it's just bots or haters. They never ask the people who, were supporters, and maybe AEW is not on their priority list anymore. They don't want to hear any of that. They only want to acknowledge haters and bots. And what happens is a lot of people out there that truly do like AEW that may feel like, look, I'm not excited about this, and then they get talked down on. So, it's very, very hard to want to put in effort and review and give opinions and suggestions, this and that, when you realize that the person at the top of the list is either a child or there's something else going on. There's something else going on. And honestly, I know a lot of people think it's drugs. A lot of people think it's other things. I have not heard anything like that whatsoever. And I don't consider weed as part of that. So, all right. Before we jet out of here, I have two super shout outs that I want to give. Gene Ombrecht. What's up, Gene? I don't want to make fun of Tony Khan, but if Herb Abrams and Dixie Carter had a child, it would be Tony Khan. That is awesome. P.S. I always check your show the next day. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I haven't seen your name pop up here before. That's awesome. Listen, I didn't see your post before I said what I said about Tony Khan, but, a lot of people may remember when I compared Tony Khan to Dixie Carter. And I said it's only a matter of time that Tony Khan becomes an on-air character for AEW, and I still think that's going to happen. But it does feel like a combination. The Herb Abrams comparisons, it's very interesting. I understand why people use that comparison. I just don't picture him doing narcotics. I will say this. If you want me to compliment, and listen, in case you didn't realize it, I complimented him big time earlier. I complimented how successful he is outside of pro wrestling. And I'm not saying that he's not successful in pro wrestling, but if you see him with his soccer team, with the Jaguars, with his outside business ventures, this is not the same Tony Khan that we see here. So you see the man that you see over there, you ask yourself, how could that be? So, he makes some of the same mistakes as Dixie Carter. The only difference is this sounds like a 16-year-old. We have investigations that there are lots of bots and haters, and they never liked AEW, and you're actually checking people's social media history. How many times did that person praise AEW, sir? We cannot find any. Well, yeah, he was never an AEW fan. Fuck him. Who the fuck is doing that? I mean, I bring it up once in a while when somebody does the opposite. Gushing over Vikingo. Epic, amazing. I've been waiting 3 years for this. Oh, yeah? Let me see your fucking social media, how you talked about it 2-3 years ago. Oh, man, I wanted to see this match. You even just typed the word EL. No results found. That's how you could tell if somebody... Listen, if you didn't have him on your radar, but now you're excited about the match, that's cool. But when people fucking lie and say, oh, this is 3 years in the making, I wanted to see this before, it was a shame Kenny Omega got injured. Well, you show them, you have 95,000 tweets, and none of them at the time, what, you were sick? You were sick? Thank you, Gene. Big Sal is in the house. $10 super chat. Thank you, Big Sal. My thoughts on WWE Hall of Famer Donald Trump is about to be arrested and indicted. Oh, God. Somebody mentioned Mega, who's part of AEW. Mega in the chat. We're going from Mega to MAGA. Wow. All right. By the way, just to end the poll, we'll end the poll. We'll keep the poll going. Why not? For everybody who checks us out afterwards. Right now, it's 51% that people felt there should have been more build to the match, and 49% was not one of your dream matches. That's cool. Split down the middle. My point about this poll, neither answer is right. Neither answer is wrong. Both answers are right. It's just that you saw that the fan base and AEW took only one side of the argument, that it was not enough build. They didn't take the other side of the argument. Very, very convenient when you only take one side of the story. Just like Tony Khan only addresses the bots and the haters and the never were fans, but never addresses the actual fans that might have fallen a little out of love for AEW. So, all right. My thoughts on this? Well, I'm going to say what I said yesterday on Patreon. I want everybody to remember this. I know it doesn't have to do with NXT or AEW, but I think people will be surprised with what I'm about to say. And I think you will tell me I'm right. First of all, I don't follow politics anymore. 4 or 5 years ago, complete opposite. I honestly do not care if Donald Trump becomes our president again or if he doesn't. If he committed crimes and should be arrested or should be indicted, hey, go for it. I live in New York. We follow our news a little bit closer locally. And if you look at this story closely, basically what's going on is that we have an election coming up in 2024, and people are going to do whatever they can to prevent the possibility of Trump running for president again. Because there are a lot of people out there that fear that he will become president again because our economy is in the shitter. When you have Sean Waltman talking about eggs being $8 a dozen, which is actually legit, depending on the brand you buy. I mean, you see what's going on. It's crazy. I bought half a pound of American cheese the other day. It was $16 a pound. People want me to take a picture. I will show you. $16 a pound for a half a pound of American cheese. Sliced, not the Kraft, individual slices. But they're going to do everything they can to prevent this guy from running for president. And honestly, what's going on with this is very one-sided. I don't care about Trump anymore, to be honest with you. But when they're basing their testimony on Michael Cohen and this has a WWE reference in a minute. They base it on a guy who is a convicted liar. Then you find out that there are hundreds of emails and they only cherry picked 5. This is tearing our country apart. Your January 6th was awful, disgusting. If you tell me Trump should be arrested because of stuff related to January 6th or voting or election, I would feel fine, to a certain degree. But you're just asking for more January 6s. You're asking for this country to have a civil war because people are not stupid. They're looking under a microscope what's going on. Now, as far as the wrestling aspect of this, guys, gals, remember this. If Donald Trump is indicted for this Stormy Daniels disaster, go on Twitter that day. Look past all the photoshops of Trump being arrested, tackled by cops, and everything else. What you will find trending is the person by the name of Vince McMahon. Every single person who despises this man, who wants a Twitter hand job, who wants likes, views, retweets, are going to make sure that the moment Donald Trump is indicted, everybody is going to go on a mass crusade, especially leading into WrestleMania. Okay, Vince, you're next. Why isn't Vince McMahon being indicted? Look at all the atrocities he did. He should be in jail. Why is he not indicted? Women who never spoke up. Here is your chance. Speak up. Be part of history. It's not too late. You may think it's too late, but speak up. We got to get Vince McMahon indicted. You watch the minute that happens to Donald Trump, you will see the worst of the Twitter wrestling world doing everything they can to try to do this to Vince McMahon. And I'm not saying that I'm for the Vince McMahon or against. I live in a country that you're innocent until proven guilty, and he's a billionaire, and there's a lot of women in the millionaire and billionaire world. I watch Lifetime movies. I'm forced to because my wife watches them, and the BET network and everything else, where you see people at these billionaire mansions, and you see these old rich guys, and then you see a woman talking to another woman. Wow, maybe if I hit that, I might be able to get this movie role. Oh, you know what? Maybe if I if I go with him, maybe I can get this opportunity. There's a lot of bad Lifetime movies about this. It happens in the real world. This is not our world. The billionaires and millionaires world, we don't understand it. We don't want it. We don't like it. We don't welcome it. Vince McMahon is a pig. But as far as I see, Vince McMahon has never committed a crime. People want to believe that he committed a crime, and I think that is disgusting. This is not an OJ, which I'll even admit OJ did it. But the thing is that people will do everything they possibly can to try to get at Vince McMahon. And it's going to show the worst of the wrestling Twitter world. You watch. Remember this conversation. So, all right, I'm going to jet out of here. We went longer than I thought of. Wow. I actually was this close to not doing a show tonight. People for the last 6 days got me so annoyed online. I was like, I'm going to take Wednesday off. I'm not going to watch AEW. I'm going to watch it by myself during the weekend. Then I'll comment about it. But now I was like, no, you know what? I definitely have a few things to say. So I hope you enjoyed it. So if you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. If you know anyone else out there that would like the channel, let them know about it. I will be back here again Saturday morning, 11:05 a.m. Eastern. And I got to start figuring out the schedule next week for predictions for WrestleMania. I hope they announce Ray versus Dom Friday. I mean, look, even if they don't announce it until Hall of Fame, I'm going to do predictions for it, obviously. But, it's going to be kind of tough next week when we do predictions. I'm thinking next Thursday might be the night to do it because, look, Friday night, right after SmackDown, people are going to want to watch Hall of Fame. I certainly want to watch it. Saturday is WrestleMania Night 1, so it's going to be kind of hard to do a prediction show the morning of WrestleMania. So right now, as it stands, it looks like I'm going to do it Thursday of next week. I might do, in fact, the more I think about it, it makes sense. I'll do NXT Stand and Deliver predictions next Wednesday. obviously, since we talk NXT on Wednesday anyway. So we'll do that next Wednesday. And I think next Thursday, that'll be WrestleMania predictions. I'm not sure if we'll do it live or if I record it in advance. I mean, if a lot of you want to hang out Thursday, then I'll do it live. In fact, I'll put something up on the community section. You could all vote if you want a live predictions or if you want me to do pre-recorded and uploaded. So, all right, everybody, I'm out of here. Enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy the rest of your week. And as of right now, it is 50-50. I kid you not. I'm going to leave that poll up until YouTube sends me a message. Look, you forgot to end this poll, so we ended it for you. I had a feeling it was going to be 50-50. And that just goes to show you that, it's very easy to take one side when you ignore the other. And that's why I get really, really angered and annoyed here. So, all right, everybody, I'm out of here. Much love. Take care. You be well.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.